Tucked away in the shadows of one of the world's most famous stories, there's another one, almost like a prequel. It's this incredible tale about refusal, about real power, and about forging your own crown in exile. Yeah, we're diving into the story of Lilith. Okay, so most of us think we know the story of the Garden of Eden, right? But what if I told you there's a huge piece missing? What if the first woman just wasn't Eve? Really, when you boil it all down, Lilith's story is about the incredible power and the real danger of a woman saying no when the whole world wants her to say yes. I mean, there's this quote that just nails it. Lilith is the first woman to say no, and she paid the price. That one little word, no, is the spark that ignites her entire legend.
So where do we even begin with her? Well, first, we got to understand how she was pretty much erased from history. We're talking about a figure who was deliberately, written out of the main script. And her story goes way, way back. I mean, we're talking deep roots here. This isn't just some recent folklore. Her shadow kind of looms over a bunch of ancient cultures. Long before we ever hear about Adam, she's popping up in Mesopotamian myths as this wild, powerful spirit, someone you really feared and definitely couldn't control.
Okay, so look at how she evolves over time. It's fascinating. She starts out in these really old Sumerian and Babylonian texts as like a wind demon, this wild, untamable force. But then fast forward a long time to around the 8th or 10th century. There's this medieval Jewish text, the Alphabet of Ben Sira, and boom, that's where the version of the story we're talking about today really comes into focus. Lilith, Adam's first wife. And that brings us right to the heart of it all, the one single act that defines her, that sets her apart from every woman who comes after. We're talking about the moment of her first refusal.
Now, this is so important to get. You know the story of Eve being made from Adam's rib, right? Well, that's not Lilith's story. The lore says she was created from the exact same soil as Adam, at the exact same time. She was his equal from the get-go. Not an afterthought, not a spin-off. Eve then becomes this sort of contrast, a model of someone who's, well, a bit more compliant.
So here's the kicker. Lilith doesn't get tossed out of paradise for being evil. Not at all. Her whole conflict with Adam was about one thing: equality. She refused to be subservient to him, specifically in bed. She wouldn't lie beneath him. So her crime, it was just disobedience. And this is a huge point. She wasn't kicked out. She left. It was a total power move in 3 steps. Step 1, she refuses to submit. Step 2, she actually grabs some divine power for herself by saying the secret name of God, which is her ticket out. And step 3, she just walks out of paradise, completely on her own terms. But, in the kind of stories being told back then, you can't have a woman with that much power just walking away and being the hero. So what comes next? A total brutal smear campaign to turn her from an equal into an absolute monster. And they did not hold back. Suddenly, she's a demon who kills babies, a seductress who attacks men in their sleep. She got blamed for everything: infant mortality, men's lustful thoughts, you name it. And why? It's pretty simple, really. A woman who is independent is a massive threat to the status quo. And that's why turning her into a monster was so important to them. She became the ultimate "don't let this be you" story. The message was clear. See, this is what happens when you say no. This is what happens when you demand to be equal. Her story was basically turned into a weapon to keep women in their place, with Eve as the good example. So did this whole campaign to erase her work? Well, this number kind of says it all. 0. That's how many times you'll find the name Lilith in the book of Genesis. She was so completely written out that the silence, her absence, is deafening. It says everything. But powerful stories, they have a way of sticking around, don't they? And today, Lilith is being reclaimed in a huge way. Her story has been flipped. It's no longer a warning. It's a symbol of empowerment. She's become an icon for the unashamed. So what does she represent now? Well, she's become the embodiment of this idea called the wild feminine. And what is that exactly? It's being sexual without feeling shame. It's using your power without asking for anyone's permission. It's being divine, but also totally untamed. It's refusing to fit into any little box they try to put you in. So who looks up to Lilith today? Who sees themselves in her story? Well, She's basically become the patron saint for anyone living on the edges, for anyone who's been punished for just being themselves. We're talking witches, sex workers, exiles, rebels. You get the idea. And it makes sense, right? Her story just clicks with anyone who's ever gotten in trouble, not because they did something wrong, but just because they refused to go along with something, because they said no.
Okay, so this brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful point of this whole ancient defiant story. It's all about where you find your own power, your own crown. This right here is the absolute key to understanding her today. Lilith is not a victim. She wasn't banished. The power of her story is that she made a choice. She took a look at paradise, decided the term sucked, and did something about it. She doesn't get cast out, she walks out. And so Lilith's story leaves us with a question, really. It makes you think about power, what paradise really means, and the act of refusal. It kind of asks us all, what kind of power do you find not in the safe, comfortable middle, but out in the wilderness that you choose for yourself? What happens when you decide to forge your own crown in exile?